Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Almond and you are watching the Fast and the Keto-ish. I just want to thank you for joining me on this beautiful April Fool's Day. It is April 1st. This is episode 3 of my cooking channel, and what I'm going to be baking for you today is your typical fathead dough. Now I know this is just another fathead dough recipe you've probably already seen on YouTube, but what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to try and mix it up a little bit. I am going to put together a little dish for you afterwards. So I'm hoping you're going to enjoy what I'm going to be baking for you today, and it's very simple. Anyone can make it. You can definitely make it at home. There's only about like 5 simple ingredients. We got your almond flour, cream cheese, mozzarella cheese, a little bit of baking powder, and a few eggs. And that's all that goes into making your typical dough. But again, follow along and I'm going to show you what I do with it and my own variations of it. So if you're ready, continue watching and I'll show you the steps on how I make my fathead dough. Here we go. Okay, so all you're gonna need is about 5 simple ingredients to make this fathead dough. I got about 2.5 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese. Now the recipe does call for 2 ounces of cream cheese, but I'm adding 4 ounces of cream cheese. I actually think it works better. I got a few eggs. I'll probably only need 1 or 2, some almond flour, and a bit of baking powder. Okay, all this stuff you probably have in your pantry. Given that you are on the keto diet, these are all staples that you should have. You'll need a rubber spatula and definitely a measuring cup. Okay, so what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna take your cheese mixture, your mozzarella cheese, and your cream cheese. You're gonna wanna microwave it. Now online, I've seen that people do it in increments of 30 seconds. I like to do mine in increments of a minute. So I'll do it for 1 minute, then I'll start creaming it up, mixing it all up. Everything's gonna be all melted for you. Should look something like this. The reason why I add that extra 2 ounces of cream cheese is that it's easier for my mozzarella cheese to mix together and it gets a lot creamier when I put my almond flour in. The first time I only used 2 ounces, I found it really difficult to work with. So I added extra cream cheese and I found it way easier to work with. Now that's what it should look like after 1 minute. I'm gonna pop it back in for another minute. Okay, so I'm back. Now that's after another minute in there. Now it should be nice, creamy, and warm, and hot. Very easy to work with right now. So I'm gonna keep on mixing it up. It should look like that. Almost looks delicious. Now that looks delicious. Okay, so now we're gonna work real fast. We're gonna take 1 cup of your almond flour. The recipe calls for 2 cups. I'm just gonna mix it in little by little. Got some there. Okay, you can see that. I'm just gonna mix it all in. Okay, that looks good. Add the other cup. And at this time, I'm gonna add 1 beaten egg to it. 1 tablespoon of this magic baking powder. Now that's gonna help the dough rise a little bit and make your bread just a little bit easier. So as you can see, it is coming along. Okay, that is the consistency of it right now. That's how it is. Now I still gotta add 1 more cup of almond flour to it. The recipe calls for 2 cups. Now if you don't have almond flour or you run out of almond flour, you can always add a bit of coconut flour to it. And for this next step, I like to put on some gloves because you are gonna have to get your hands dirty, and it's just easier so the dough doesn't stick to your hands. Now you're just gonna knead it in just like you were making bread, because technically this is a dough. Just mix all that almond flour into your mixture. Make sure you knead it really good to the consistency of bread. Now if you are a baker out there, you will know the consistency of bread. This can basically be the same thing, just incorporate it all together. Now my dough is still warm. because I heated it up in the microwave for a little bit longer. I like it when it's like that. I'm just gonna let it sit there for a few minutes while I get everything else ready, okay? So your dough should now look something like this. And if it's too wet, just add a little bit more almond flour. If it's too dry, then you might wanna add maybe a little bit more egg, or try and take out some of the almond flour, okay? But this is the consistency that it should be looking at. Okay, so now that I got my dough ready, I got it all mixed up, it's all incorporating. I just got it resting over there for a few minutes, not too long. I don't want it to dry out. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roll it out. I'm gonna separate it into 8 equal pieces. They're gonna be about the size of biscuits or dinner rolls. Now the first time I made it, I did find that it was a lot. It was really filling and it was almost too much to eat. So what I decided to do with this batch is that I am making them a lot smaller and they're a lot easier to eat. Especially when you start adding things to it like cream cheese, some smoked salmon, it definitely fills you up and it's definitely a great meal. So you wanna make them just the size of a dinner roll and that's just gonna be good enough. Now I'm just gonna get my dough over here. And here we go. So right now my oven is preheated to 400 degrees. I'm gonna cut this into 8 equal parts. So I'll cut it in half once. Should look like that inside, looks pretty good. Then I'll cut it again in half. Cut that in half as if you were cutting a pie or a cake. You should have equal pieces just like this.
Do the same. And now you have 8 equal pieces, just like that.
Okay, so now that you got your dough separated in 8 equal pieces, you're gonna wanna get out a baking sheet like this. So now what I'm gonna do is take your dough like this. You're gonna wanna keep on kneading it, roll it up, okay? Best as you can, and then flatten it out. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Just flatten it out, try and get it something that looks like that. Don't worry if it's perfect. Okay, when it melts, when it starts baking, it all melts and blends together. Okay, so you're gonna wanna do this with all 8. Now the first time I came across fathead dough, I said no way, this can't work. Melted cheese, almond flour, cream cheese, and that's supposed to turn into bread? I'm like, there is no possible way. So for 2 years, I've avoided making this fathead dough. So me and my wife have been on keto for 2 years now, and all that time I avoided this fathead dough. I just said, you know what, this is not gonna work. I actually wish that I started earlier, because making this fathead dough and the stuff that you can do with this is a game changer. Bagels, pizzas, crackers, pie crust. The stuff that you can do with this stuff is endless. And it keeps you in ketosis. It doesn't ruin your diet. And it's just another way of living. I thoroughly enjoy making fathead dough. And when I can, I like to make extra where I can just pop it in the freezer. So when I'm ready, I can just pop them in the oven and have fathead dough whenever I want. If you do have larger buns, you're gonna wanna bake them between 12 to 15, but because mine are really small, I'm just doing it from 10 minutes. I check on them, and if it needs a little bit more time, I add that extra 11 minute or the 12th minute. Okay, so I have 2 toppings for you. The first one is gonna be savory. The second one is gonna be savory and sweet. It is gonna be a little bit weird, but trust me, you're gonna wanna try this. Now the first one, I made my own everything but the bagel seasoning. What I have is a little bit of garlic seasoning, a little bit of Himalayan sea salt, some dehydrated onions that I got in the store, as well as some black poppy seeds. I'm gonna add that to 4 of my buns, and then the second one, I'm gonna add a cinnamon mixture with a bit of cheddar cheese. Now, cheddar cheese and cinnamon, I know it sounds weird, but trust me, it is delicious. Okay, so for my sweet and savory bun, I got stevia here. You can find this in any grocery store. I normally like to use Swerve, but I couldn't find it for some reason. It was all out. But anyways, stevia. And I got some cinnamon. Yes, it's from Kirkland. Yes, I shop at Costco. If you're on keto, Costco is like your best friend. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna start off by putting in a couple teaspoons of the stevia mixture. Boom. And then I'm gonna sprinkle some cinnamon in it, as much as you like. I like cinnamon. Cinnamon is delicious. Okay, and then you're just gonna give it a little mix. Okay, so I got all the buns ready. I got one beaten egg here. I'm just gonna coat each bun with a bit of egg on top. This is gonna allow the seasoning to stick and also give it a little glaze, just to make it that much better. We're just gonna take 4 of the buns and add a little bit of that cinnamon stevia mixture right on top. Then you're gonna add to the other 4 some of that homemade everything but the bagel seasoning. And lastly, I did say I got some cheddar cheese. I'm gonna add the cheddar cheese to that cinnamon. That's gonna melt right on top. It's gonna taste amazing. You're gonna have that sweet and salty flavor. It's hard to resist. Now all we gotta do is pop it in the oven, wait for 10 minutes. Now my buns just came out of the oven and they're still piping hot. Now I know I should wait a minute before I dig into these, but trust me, they are so good when they're warm. So here we go. Now this is the cinnamon, cheddar cheese, and stevia. I'm just gonna cut it in half. So you can see, look. Okay, now these were in the oven for about 11 minutes. I got a little scared. I probably should have left it in there for maybe about a minute longer. What I'm gonna do is just add a little bit of butter to it and give it a taste. Oh. Okay, so you have the cheddar cheese that's on top, plus the mozzarella cheese, the cream cheese, the almond flour. Then you have that sweet, savory texture with the caramelized cinnamon and stevia right on top. It's definitely complements each other. It tastes delicious. One more. And then you add that butter to it. Oh, hold on. Now, fathead dough, regardless of what you put on it, is a great alternative to bread. And it satisfies that craving if you are craving for any bread or carbs. It is definitely something that you can add to your dinner, and it keeps you in ketosis. It will not ruin your diet. Now it's time to get ready to prepare the second bun. Okay, so the second one that I'm gonna prepare for you today, I got the everything biscuit bagel kind of thing that I made right there. I just cut it in half. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some cream cheese to it. And then what you're gonna do now is you're going to take a bit of smoked salmon and just put it right on top. Now my wife likes smoked salmon, so I'm just gonna add a few more pieces to it. Okay. we have that. Now, isn't that looking delicious? I'm just gonna sprinkle just a little bit of salt on top, some linseed salt, a little bit of black pepper. Okay, I'm gonna take a few sprigs of dill, just like this. Just put it right on top. Just like that. And lastly, what I like to do, just to make it a little bit richer, is just drizzle just a little bit of olive oil right on top. And this is the end product for the second bun that I did. So we got everything bagel biscuit kind of thing with some cream cheese. We got some smoked salmon there, little salt and pepper, little sprigs of dill right on top, and lastly, to finish it off, we got some good quality extra virgin olive oil. Okay, so now that we got our second bun completed with our smoked salmon, our cream cheese, our dill, it's time to serve it up to my beautiful wife, which I have right here, and she's joining me for lunch. I'm hoping she likes it. It is one of her favorites.
Hi guys.
This is my wife Elaine, and here you go. Let me know what you think.
Ooh,
try it out.
Looks delicious. So good.
Be honest, do you like it?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, that's it for today for my cooking channel. I'm here with my wife Elaine. This is me. Thanks for watching the Fast and Keto-ish. Again, save these recipes. You're gonna wanna go home and try them yourself. If you haven't made fathead dough already, be sure to add this one to your menu. Be sure to add this one to your recipe book. And don't delay, go out and start making those fathead biscuits today. And thanks again from my wife and the Fast and the Keto-ish. My name is Almond. And you have yourself a good day. Peace. Wait, come here. How is it?
It's good.
Did you try one of these? You should try one of these. And let me just cut it open.